Hi, I'm Jesse Dillon. This is my co-host.
Priscilla Cohen, and this is Jesse's Office.
Today we're talking to Linda Ramone about coming of age during the New York glitter rock scene, her late husband Johnny Ramone, and the secret worlds of Club 82 and CBGBs.
And how style has or hasn't evolved in the last 40 years. But first, please subscribe to our YouTube channel to watch this and more episodes, or subscribe to Jesse's Office wherever you stream your podcasts. Feel free to leave comments, and somebody on this team is going to respond whenever we can. Thanks for watching or listening.
Yeah, please leave comments. Thanks for watching. Is the hat you're gonna be able to get some light under there?
It looks good right now.
Okay, good.
I'll move it back a little.
We
Okay.
kind of need the hat. I kind of wish I had a
course.
hat, honestly.
Of course. Okay, let's
back
roll
a
camera,
little.
you guys.
What? Whoops, did I just screw something up? Okay.
Linda, what a tribute. A lot of people
Oh,
there.
that was funny, right?
Yeah. Now, what do you think they were? I mean, was it all for Johnny, or do they love the Warriors? Like, was it because
Half and half.
Yeah.
It's like, I think half is, are we on or not?
Oh,
We're
yeah,
on.
we've
We're
been
always on.
on.
Okay.
We're on.
Not that I say anything crazy, but you know,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
tend
You
to
do
say
know.
something's crazy
Yeah.
sometimes.
Crazy is good. We
Yeah.
need crazy. We need
No,
crazy.
Yeah.
half and half, I think. It's like half is for Johnny, like no matter what, I get those people because I do it every year.
Right.
And then the other half is the movie, because if you don't like the movie, yeah, you come, like Jonesy was great with
Yeah.
Arrow
Sure.
and Fred and
Sure.
Henry,
Sure.
because we did a little performance, not me, they perform,
Yeah.
you know, and that's fun and people love that. And, you know, you have the VIP, everybody loves that. And you have the audience where, you know, I had Mr. Music Head do a rock and roll
Yeah.
exhibit,
Yeah.
and that was amazing.
Yeah.
But if you don't like the movie, I mean, I guess you can come for the other festivities.
Yeah.
But the movie, you have to sit there and like a movie, I
Yeah.
would think.
Yeah.
You know? So, but I did notice the difference, like the crowd this year.
Right.
Because the Warriors definitely had their own type of crowd.
Right.
Like last year had Barbarella, and I
Right.
could see it was more like hairdressers and makeup artists, you know, people like the, you know, the look of it,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
And like Jane Fonda gave the foundation a shout out.
Sure.
But she didn't come, you know, whatever. But
Yeah.
this year we had Walter Hill come, the
Yeah.
director of the Warriors,
Yeah.
and Swan came, and, you know, Joel Weiss came.
Yeah.
And I think like the audience, like seeing their favorite movie, The Warriors, is going to
Yeah.
play, and they come out. And
Yeah.
Alan Arkish,
Yeah.
like I called Alan 2 days before.
Yeah.
And I was like, because Vincent Gallo was going to do
Right.
that part.
Right.
But Vincent's decided he's better as a special guest. He comes out and he
Yes.
likes to be alone on the stage.
Oh, right.
It
What's
wasn't that,
What's that negotiation like?
hey, I'm not doing it. Okay, boom. Linda Ramone laying in the bed thinking, I better find someone that fits this part,
Yeah.
you know? And I'm just sitting there thinking, and I look and I write to Alan, I go, are you coming Sunday?
Yeah.
And he goes, I've been really busy, but
Yeah.
I'd love to come.
Yeah.
I go, oh, so you're coming?
Yeah.
And he goes, yeah, I love the Warriors,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
I saw it when it first opened on Hollywood
Yeah.
Boulevard. And I go, I have a job for you. And that's how the negotiations
That's
start.
a producer.
You know,
That's
and he
a
goes,
producer.
what kind of job? And I go, well, remember when you did Rock and Roll High School?
Yeah.
You know, because I had the cast of Rock and Roll High School when
Right.
Roger Corman came out,
Right.
and, you know, John Doe, I think, moderated. And I
Right.
go, how about you be the moderator and you introduce Walter Hill and
Yeah.
Swan? And he's like, Walter Hill's coming. I've known him for 30 years,
Yeah.
you know. I'd love to do it. He goes, but let me go back and watch The Warriors,
Right.
because I haven't seen it for a long time. And that
Right.
was the whole thing with The Warriors. People always loved it, but I think they haven't seen it in a long time.
You know, so how do you pick the movie? Because you're a movie collector.
Well,
so-
that's where, curated by Vincent Gallo, he did pick the movie.
right.
So what happened was, one night, me and Gallo and JD were going down to Gallo's friend's house.
Right.
What's his name, Hookie? Daniel.
Right.
And Daniel and Vincent collect rare, very, very rare vinyl.
Right.
So they were having, it kind of was really like a boys' listening party,
Right.
but somehow I was invited.
Right.
I don't know how,
Yeah.
and I don't know
And
why.
thank goodness
Yeah.
you were. I just
Yeah.
want to say
Yes.
that on a record. Okay.
You know why? because when I got out of the car with JD and we were walking towards Gallo, like this guy started getting up and screaming, and it was like downtown, and I was like, oh my God, where am I? I feel like I'm in the Warriors. That's the moment where Vincent goes, that's what we're doing this year.
So
Great. You can
how
come
do
in
you-
with that coffee. It's okay.
Yeah. So how do you pick how are you going to
you.
pick next year's movie? Like, is it Planet of the Apes? Is it, like, how do you?
I love Planet of the Apes,
Yeah.
too.
Oh, Jesse, you'll be curious.
You know,
about
you want to curate?
Yeah.
No, we just throw movies around like what Johnny liked.
Right.
So like we never got Johnny's top 10 of everything because
Right.
no one asked him to ever do that.
Right.
But someone did ask him, this guy, Andy Gore, who
Right.
makes all his crazy t-shirts and stuff,
Right.
his top horror films, his top sci-fi films.
Right.
We never asked Johnny regular films.
Right.
Like, Warriors would fall under regular.
Yeah.
Because it's not sci-fi,
Yeah.
and it's not horror, and it's not Elvis.
Right.
So those were and they said his favorite baseball players and favorite punk bands.
Right.
But Johnny at one point thought he was going to be in the Ramones.
Right.
Be in the Ramones a couple of years. The band would be the biggest band in the world.
Right.
He'd retire and become a director.
Oh.
See that he wanted to
I
be
didn't
like
know
a
that.
Roger
Did you?
Corman.
It took a lot more time than he
that.
Took
thought.
him his whole life to retire and make enough money because they didn't sell records,
Right.
and merch was, you only saw him at the shows. So for him to recoup and make enough money to retire took him his whole life.
When you looked at the crowds, are you seeing like a cross pollination? Of ages? Like who's coming?
Oh, that's the thing about it. From young kids to old kids.
Yeah.
We have everybody. I said before, because now it's 14 years. I seen little kids grow up.
Yeah.
They all come because I do $20 ticket price and 10 and under free.
Right.
So, I mean, you can bring your family
Yeah.
and you sit there all day and you get entertained all day. So it's for me a great, it's a great ticket price for people. But I don't know, it just happens. It just, when it gets closer, you decide to think what movie.
Yeah.
And it really sometimes it revolves around a host too.
Right.
Like who's going to host. Like the year Rob Zombie hosted, it was the 10th year. So we had a band play inside.
Right.
So it started out, Rob was going to play with Jonesy and Duff
Right.
and Fred.
Right.
Then Rob decided he was going to play with his own band,
Right.
which was like they could sell out stadiums.
Right.
But now we're going to put them in the little mausoleum,
Right.
in the little place where it holds 300 people.
Right.
So Rob's band was going to play, and then we had a special guest. Billy Idol came out, special guest out of nowhere, like
Right.
a couple of days before. Billy's manager knew Rob's manager, and everything just panned out. And then
Right.
I had Grace from the Pink Slips,
Right.
who's, Duff's in Guns N' Roses, and Jessie Joe, my friend Jessie
Right.
Joe.
Yeah.
She did a song. All of a sudden, everything came together, and Rob was going to show his movie.
Right.
So he had a panel, and his wife, Sherry Zombie, came, and
Yeah.
we did a whole panel with everybody
Yeah.
from Rob's movie. And that was a really, really big one.
Now,
half-
do people come for you or do they come for Johnny? I mean, is it the memory of Johnny? Is it the memory of the Ramones?
It's how I put us all together.
Yeah.
It's me, it's Johnny, it's the Johnny Ramone tribute.
Yeah.
Everybody falls under that.
Are you, the Ramones seem to have a very enduring,
Yeah.
People seem to have a real love of the Ramones, even, today and going forward. Does that surprise you? Are you, it keeps going?
And why does it keep
Well,
going?
I'm happy about it, of course.
Yeah, I'm sure you are.
Why wouldn't you want? Johnny wanted to be in the biggest band in the world. Hello, just because you die doesn't mean you shouldn't be.
Yeah.
This legacy keeps going.
Yeah.
Am I happy about it? Of course. Do we get young fans? Yeah, but I do think the Johnny Ramone tribute helps get younger fans interested because you see people coming, and you hear about it. It's very LA at the moment because Johnny's statue's there and
Yeah.
Dee Dee's buried there.
Sure.
And now Chris Cornell's next to Johnny.
Right.
So I think it's very family-ish,
There aren't really any photographs of Johnny like visiting with the Sex Pistols or, it's like he's like if you were in the Ramones, were you just in the Ramones? Were you supposed to be singing with other bands and doing other stuff?
Johnny never would play with other bands. Later on, he played a song with Pearl Jam.
Right.
And he did a song with the Chili Peppers when they were doing a benefit for him.
Right.
But no, Johnny was not the type of guitar player to get up. Even when he went up with Pearl Jam, we were, very good friends with Eddie.
Yeah.
And we get up there, and Johnny gets off the stage. He goes, I look weird up there, don't I? And I go, you don't fit in. None of the Ramones do. And really,
Right.
they always stand out. That's what makes them, the Ramones.
Yeah.
And I think what makes people like them now, I think they were the coolest band ever.
Yeah.
Like everybody could say Led Zeppelin was this, The Who was that.
Yeah.
The Ramones were the coolest band ever. Still to this day. I mean, fashion icons, obviously, I guess. Look at this.
Yeah.
Who wears ripped jeans?
Right.
The Ramones did.
Right.
The only thing with the Ramones is they didn't cut their jeans. They wore out
Right.
and they wore them. They
Right.
wore jeans, sneakers, and a leather jacket. What is the look of today? That's 40 years ago.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, Tommy Ramone always said they were ahead of their time. And they truly were, And I do think, though, that's why kids look at a photo of them and go, whoa,
They were cool.
they're cool.
Yeah.
How could you? And Seymour Stein will say, the songs are everything.
Yeah.
They had great, catchy songs.
Yeah.
How they weren't played on the radio, I do think it's because of how they looked. It was the time of punk,
Right.
and radio was not ready for punk. They did not want to play punk.
A lot of times we listen to these songs, we don't really know where they come from, but these guys loved comic books and baseball. Like, where do the songs come from that they write about?
Hobbies.
Yeah.
I mean, let's hope it wasn't all sniff and glue.
Right. Right. Right.
Hobbies.
Yeah.
From, the big joke was they never got any girls
Right.
to ride around in their car.
Yeah.
But, Johnny's first car he got was a Jaguar.
Right. Right.
He was a construction worker. See, that was the other thing with Johnny. He was very blue collar before the
Right.
Ramones. He
Right.
was a construction worker. His father worked construction, got him a job. He saved his pay every week. He would go to work with a sandwich that his mother would make, a can of sardines, and a V8 juice.
Right.
And he saved every penny he made. And he had $40,000 by the time he got into the Ramones.
Wow.
$40,000, a lot of money
A
back
lot
then.
Right.
of money.
Now, before the Ramones, you were already in the scene. So,
Oh, yeah.
So, where did you come from, and how did you get to Manhattan?
Queens. You
Right.
come from Queens, all you do is sit in your room. Well, that's what I did. I sat in my room going, how do I get to this place called the city?
How did you even know about that?
Because my brother was older.
Right.
And my brother was very into music.
Right.
But my brother was into Mountain, Zeppelin, The
Right.
Who,
Right.
Black Oak, Arkansas.
Right.
Like he liked heavier stuff.
Right.
I didn't mind Mountain. I didn't mind any of that,
Yeah.
but I didn't love it. I mean, I liked Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah.
We sit in my house, and my brother, we got this stereo with this like lights, and my brother would go behind the stereo and do the lights,
Right.
to the Lemon song.
Right.
That was fun.
Yeah.
But it wasn't what I liked.
So, did you hear something? Because this is
My
pre
brother.
the Ramones.
See,
This is-
I do say my brother helped me. I mean, because girls, not a lot of girls get into music.
Right.
Well, in those
They
days.
like it. They like the way someone looks. But my brother showed me this photo of the New York Dolls.
Right.
And he said, I found a band for you.
And what did
And
you
so-
like about it? What
and
was
did
it
you
about?
I
did you
was like-
were you into David Johansen, or did it go right to Johnny Thunders?
Right to Johnny Thunders.
Yeah.
But I did like David Johansen because he was the singer. I was still young,
Yeah.
you still think the singer is everything. Later on, you find out the guitar player is cooler than the singer.
Right.
Right, right.
You got to be a little more older and understand the
yeah.
guitar player is actually the coolest one in the band.
So how do
know?
how do you get into town?
It happened very crazy. I would write on my desk in high school. I love the New York Dolls. I love the New York Dolls. This girl writes back to me on my desk. I love the New York Dolls. Let's meet after school.
Right.
Oh.
Okay. Then she writes on the desk, I know the New York Dolls. I'm like, oh, please. How
Right.
could anyone know the New York Dolls? I mean, that
Right.
doesn't make sense to me. I meet her after school. When you're walking down and you're ready to meet somebody, I see her, she sees me. I could tell already she don't like me. And she
Now,
goes,
do you already have a big fashion sense? Do you already?
oh yeah,
What are you wearing? Like when you.
glitter rock. Like
Yeah.
I already now gotten beat up in the hallway.
Right.
Okay, because I was wearing platform shoes. How I wore platform shoes to high school, I don't know.
Right.
Glitter on my eyes, and I was already but I was too young to go into the city as of now. I meet this girl, her name's Ollie Ronson, and she goes, "What grade you in?" And And I go, the 9th. She goes, I'm in 12th. So now already she's older.
Right.
She ain't liking because I'm younger.
Right.
Now she's got to drag this young girl around. And she
Right.
goes, I'm going to go into the city this weekend. We take the train into the city. We go to this club called Club 82.
Yeah. And what was it like when so you don't even know about Club 82, you're just
Don't know
going to
nothing
it.
about
I
it.
want
So-
to know how you got out of the house, though. Did you sneak out or did you tell your parents?
Yes.
You
So you
snuck out.
always can see. My mother knew. My father didn't.
Okay.
My
Right.
father worked sanitation, but he built himself up.
Right.
He was I don't want to say garbage picker, people get insulted, but that's kind of
right.
how
Yeah.
you start out,
Yeah.
know.
Yes.
And then he went to assistant foreman, and then super.
Yeah.
He studied, my father's very Italian, when you want to move up, you study.
Yeah.
And he studied, took classes, he became a super. So he would leave to go to work at 6 o'clock in the morning. That's when we'd come home and sneak into the house. And my
Right.
mother would get up and wait. But going into the city, we took the Long Island Railroad.
Yeah.
They had a train stop at Rosedale where I lived.
Right.
And we went into the city.
Right.
We go into the city the first time.
Now, are you nervous on the train? Or are you excited?
No, I'm excited.
Yeah.
No fear?
No.
Now, this is Club 82, and it's a cellar, basically,
Yeah.
right?
And it's kind of
so
a
what-
drag queen club.
Right. So you haven't been in a drag queen club before. So what happens? You descend these stairs, and what are you thinking as you're going
I'm
in?
excited. The first person I see is Alice Cooper.
Right.
Ah.
I'm like, are you joking? Like, is this really going to happen? Like,
Yeah.
this is. First, we get to the door, and it's a person at the door called Tommy.
Right.
Now, to me, she looks like a woman, but I didn't care.
Yeah.
I wasn't judging anything. I was
Yeah.
I was game.
Yeah.
You want to be called Tommy? That's fine with me.
Yeah,
Here we are.
Yeah.
And I'm with Ollie and her other friend Buffy.
Right.
And this other kid Walter.
And what are
we're-
you? And how are you all dressed?
Everybody's dressed up,
Right.
glitter rockish.
Right.
Now I'm younger than all of them because now I'm 9th grade. I'm like, I don't know, 14, 15.
Yeah.
They're all 19 or 18. Not a big difference later on when you're 20 or 24 or, but when you're 15, it's a big difference.
Right,
You
right.
know, now we walk in, the first person I see, Alice Cooper.
Right.
You didn't have cell phones back then, thank the Lord,
Yeah.
because you know what? It probably would have ruined everything.
Right,
Honestly, I know people like taking photos now and you capture moments that you don't have, like this moment at Club 82. But the moment I had was I put in a quarter to call my mother.
Yeah.
And I said, Mommy, Alice Cooper's here.
Yeah.
I mean, the excitement.
Does Mommy
Yeah.
know who Alice Cooper
Of
is?
course, we watched Midnight
Okay.
Special,
Right.
together, and we saw Elected
Right.
when Alice Cooper came out with the monkey. I remember sitting on the phone with my mother,
Yeah.
and it was like the most exciting thing.
Now, at some point, the dolls come on. And I mean, seeing the dolls play is much different than, not that I ever saw them, but seeing them play is like a legendary experience, yeah?
Yes, it is.
So do you immediately look up there, and what do you see when you see that thing coming down at you?
Well, not quite what I expected, though. Because, Club 82, the stage was small, and it was like by the time they came out, it was 3 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
I wasn't really used to this yet, know?
Right.
Like watching someone at 3 o'clock in the morning. It was amazing,
Yeah.
but I had seen the dolls before this. My father drove me and my friend into the city to
Right.
see the dolls at the Academy of Music.
Right.
So now I came from going to see the dolls at a big place
Right.
to now going to actually seeing the dolls, which I actually, with my friend Ollie, I could say hello to them. So I'm kind of more excited, but they look better on the big stage.
Yeah.
So what happened? So where was your dad? Well, if he drove you into the city, what did he do? Did he drive back out and leave you guys there and you took the train home, or did you?
No, he waited in his white Cadillac, like every good Italian father should.
Yeah.
awesome.
You buy tickets. My mother bought tickets, Ticketron,
Right.
at Corvettes.
But you're
Right.
still really young, right, Linda? Because this
Well,
is
there you
before.
go.
Oh, 14,
14.
with my father.
Yeah.
So he's waiting for me to go
Yeah.
to the
So
concert.
you get out of seeing the New York Dolls. What do you
Well,
dress
that
like?
was another whole thing with my father. So me and my friend Heavenly,
Yeah.
Patty Ann Fury, hello.
Yeah.
And I was Starlight.
Those
we
were
dre-
your names. You wanted to change your names to. Her
was-
name was going to be.
Heavenly.
Yeah.
Heavenly.
And
your
I was
name.
Starlight.
Right.
We were really Linda Marie and Patty Ann.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And my father, Sonny, is driving
Yeah.
us into the city.
Yeah.
So Sonny's a good sport, my
Yeah.
father.
Yeah.
Driving us, calling us the name, Heavenly Starlight. He's going along with it. Okay, he parks the car. He's waiting for us to get out. I get in the car. He goes, who goes to see this band? So I could already see he's a little, like I see, all the guys are dressed in high heel sneakers.
Right.
Everybody's wearing makeup. I don't think he expected that. He goes, this is all weird. This is all freaky. Wait till I tell your mother. What kind of concert are you going in?
Yeah.
And then he says, Linda. And I go, no, my name's Starlight. He goes, you sit in the car, your name is Linda, and then the car ride driving into the city from Rosedale was very quick,
Yeah.
We're getting excited. The car ride was a long car ride home. Don't forget, people, nobody was expecting guys to wear makeup. It was kind of new.
Yeah.
And if you did see it before, it certainly wasn't anybody in my neighborhood who was seeing that.
Yeah.
So, but I went from that to going into the city. So, and I went to another concert with my father. After that one, Slade.
Right.
Slade at the Felt Forum, and Aerosmith opened up.
Did
Yeah.
he
Another.
go with you? Did he actually watch
He
the
waited
game?
outside again.
Okay.
I mean, he would complain, my father, but he would still do it.
Right.
Because what are you going to do? You don't want your daughter to take the train in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Until Ollie Ronson, don't forget, now I'm not at my house no more. I go to her house.
Right.
Meanwhile, her name is really Arlene Amato.
Right.
It's not Ollie Ronson. I had no idea her last name wasn't Ronson.
Right.
She named herself after Mick Ronson.
Right.
Oh,
Of course.
boy.
Right.
I mean, it makes sense.
Right.
And then, I meet her parents, and her name's Arlene.
Right.
Not Ollie.
Oh,
Right. The times was it a different kind of time than we are in now? Like, was it a sweeter time, a gentler time, this early? Because this is not the Ramones' time. This is
No.
before,
Pre-Ramones. I think it was more innocent.
Yeah.
I'm not saying people weren't on drugs. I'm
Yeah.
not saying people didn't do things. Maybe because I was more innocent, Maybe because everything wasn't filmed. Like, you would get in big trouble now that if people who were 15 going into a club,
Right.
Then I wasn't even drinking yet, so I just went into the city to see bands, and I certainly wasn't into drugs.
Right.
So maybe I was one of the lucky ones who didn't fall into that,
Well, what do you think it is about you? Because you're right, you were exposed to all this stuff.
Well, I remember just being in my high school and actually in 8th grade, being in the school park, and everybody would, back then, they were taking Sunshine. It was like this tab of acid,
yeah.
and it was on paper, and you could rip it
Yeah.
off.
Yeah.
And everybody kept saying, you never come back the same. And that already didn't make me feel good. I was like,
Right.
Yeah.
I'm pretty
Yeah.
happy who I am,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? And, I remember like everybody was smoking pot. And I was like, I don't know. I got to go home and see my father. I don't know. He'll know. I just don't need that stress.
Good.
Yeah.
Like they
Yeah.
all were having stress already with my brother who was on drugs. I honestly think my brother had me huff glue once
Right.
in the bathroom.
oh,
Right.
boy.
I probably was 13. And he got in big trouble.
Yeah.
My father beat him up. Not beat him up, but
Yeah,
he got
yeah.
punished. And, nobody was huffing glue in their house. My brother, but that's because he didn't leave the house.
Yeah.
You already have a sense of style and purpose at 13. Like, when did that develop in you that you were going to get to the bands and you were going to dress this way? And, it's like, how did that all happen? Did it happen even
I
earlier?
never thought I would get to the bands, honestly.
Yeah.
What I did think, though, I was always dressed up because I started watching That Girl, Marlo Thomas.
Yes.
Right.
And here is some girl who lives in the city. So now I got to say, That Girl changed a lot for me. I met her years later, Marlo.
Right.
She's, super sweet. But like you look at her, all I saw was That Girl.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think I started liking Anne Margaret.
Right.
And back then, like all the actresses, even when they weren't in a movie, checking out of the grocery store,
Right.
because that
Yeah.
was the only way you got to see people. Everybody was all dressed up.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not like today you see movie stars or movie actors and they have on, flip-flops. It
Right.
wasn't back then. Everybody was dolled up when they went out.
Yeah.
But at
Because-
your school, did a lot of kids see that and want to do that and were going to make their way to the city, or was it a few people?
Just a few.
And then did you
Nobody,
find?
I think more people were nervous. Remember when you go back before where you
Yes.
say, was I nervous?
Yeah.
I wasn't intimidated.
And then when you got there, did you find a whole tribe of people who were like you, that you found like, well, hey, these are the people I'm going to spend my time with?
Yeah, and I did one other thing that actually helped too. I went to a show in Rosedale with bands that were playing.
Right.
And this band called Milk and Cookies were playing. And I met Justin, who was the singer, and Abby Jane, who was his girlfriend. And I had a photo of the New York Dolls taped onto my pocketbook.
Right.
Oh,
And that's how it started with Ollie, too, because she goes, "You like the New York Dolls?" And I'd always say, "No, I love the New York Dolls."
Right.
You know, I would never say like. I love the New York Dolls. She goes, "We go into the city, me and Justin, and, we see the Dolls play." And I said, "I met this girl, Ollie Ronson." And she said, "Ollie Ronson? She knows the Dolls." And that all started connecting.
Right.
And that night, I became friends with Abby and Justin, which, who knew later on, that would take me to CBGB's
Right.
and Club 82 because Justin's band Milk and Cookies started opening up for the Ramones.
So what's the thing? You just start to go to CBGBs?
yeah. What got you?
People
to
just
CBGB?
start saying, "We're going to go to CBGB's."
And-
it's like CBGB's and Maxis, but Maxis already existed.
Right.
So it wasn't that different to people, because Maxis already had Andy Warhol and that whole crowd.
Yep.
I missed that too. I went once to Maxis when Mickey Ruskin owned it,
Right.
and he made me leave because I didn't have proof.
Yeah.
When you go to CBGB's, do you realize that's going to be a special place?
No.
Do you?
It was
do you?
gross. I went. It was gross. It was pretty gross. Just
But
wanna
it was
say.
a special place.
Yes,
you
it
know?
was. But I did go as well.
special
Yeah.
place. When you first went there, Hilly had his dog there, and the dog
Yeah.
decided to go to the bathroom all over CBGB's. It was pretty
It was gross.
unkept. Let's
Well,
put
it
it that way.
It had to work up, I guess, from a
Yeah.
third place.
I mean,
But do you remember meeting Johnny? And do you remember meeting the band, the Ramones, before they were even the Ramones?
no, they were already the Ramones.
Right, but it was
Everybody
pro-
who played CBGB was already, but it was very early on.
I mean,
No
they
one-
probably had only played a couple of shows when
Oh,
you
yeah.
met them.
A
Yeah.
couple of shows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you saw them, you came from Glitter Rock, so now you see this band and they're not doing Glitter Rock. So
No.
I think maybe their first couple shows they were Glitter Rock.
Well, Johnny wore his spandex the
Right.
first couple of shows with
Yeah.
his chest open, and he had his half David Bowie haircut still.
Yeah.
Because don't forget Johnny was going into the city to see the Dolls.
Right. Did
At
you
that
meet
point.
him that?
No, he was older.
Right.
So he already was going into the city. Johnny Ramone was already getting his clothes made by
Right.
Jumping Jack Flash,
Right.
and he was already into dressing up.
When did you meet Joey?
This time going to CBGB's.
And when you saw him, I mean, because he was a very unusual looking person.
Yeah.
He was very tall, and did you have a sense of what they would be?
No, and the first time you saw them, it kind of was like, okay. They didn't play very long.
Yeah.
I liked it, but I was still more into like what I was liking, T-Rex and,
Right.
Slade and Sweet. But the Ramones record came out not too long after that. And then I remember buying the record, and then that changed everything.
Right.
The one thing with CBGB's was it was a very small crowd. So since Justin was opening up for bands, you kind of got to meet bands.
Right.
And everybody just hung out. Like Blondie was there, and
Right.
Talking Heads was there, and Television. And everybody kind of knew each other. And my friend Janice, who went out with Johnny Thunders, who wrote a gossip column called Press Lips, I'd hang out with Janice.
Right.
So that was our little team. Justin, Abby, Janice, me.
And now, how old are you?
16.
And when do you start hanging out with the Ramones?
19.
Do you, when you first start, when you're 19, do you?
I know Joey, though, when I'm 18. Like, I know them.
And
Yeah.
do you sort of understand the dynamic between them, between Johnny and Joey?
No one would know that until much later on.
Yeah. At what point do you go with Johnny?
Oh, that's later on.
I mean, like
So
5
first
years
I have
later?
to meet Joey.
Sure.
You know.
Yes.
So do
What
you remember
happened was-
meeting Joey?
I remember talking to Joey at CBGB's and
Yeah.
Max's, but nothing like that.
Yeah.
Nothing. We're friends.
Yeah.
When we see each other, just like seeing anybody, from television or any of the other bands. What happened was, I think I was 17, and it was my summer vacation coming up, and my mother was getting alimony. Somehow, I convinced my father to send my alimony check, even though it wasn't mine, it was my mother's, but it
Right.
was broken down into dollars then. And like $100 a week was my money until I
Allocated for
turned
you.
either
Yeah.
18 or 21. I think it was 21. And Justin, from Milk and Cookies, who I was best friends with the whole time. I mean, he'll say girlfriend now, and maybe we were boyfriend and girlfriend. It wasn't really to me, but back then when you're someone's best friend and you hang out every day together,
Yeah.
you know, you kind of are. And
Yeah.
you're young. And he
Yeah.
was a couple of years older than me. He was living in L.A. at the Tropicana. And I convinced my father to send a check to L.A. to the Tropicana.
Right.
And I moved out to L.A.
Right.
for the summer with Justin. And we
Wow.
were sharing a room.
Right.
So I guess that you could say technically boyfriend then, yes. We were living together, yes. I was 17.
Wow.
And Justin decided he had to go back to New York because he had to go to a bar mitzvah. Okay. Because he was Jewish,
Right.
you know, and they were very important bar mitzvahs back then. Since I'm
Yeah.
Italian, I don't know, but I see now they're very important bar mitzvahs. People go back home for them. So what happened was we were going to leave. The Tropicana, though, I will tell you, was the best place ever because that's where I met Sparks.
Right.
Like Justin was friendly with Sparks, but that's where we'd go to the farmer's market, which
Right.
we're going to go today to,
Right.
the Grove.
Right.
Yep.
But the whole farmer's market. I have photos of Russell and Ron and me and Justin at the farmer's market.
Right.
You know, and we'd always hang out, and it was a lot of fun. And Russell had a beautiful Thunderbird back then, like the 50s, the one with the wheel in the back,
Sure.
and it was like seafoam green. Like he had a gorgeous car. I don't remember, Ron didn't have a gorgeous car like Russell, and we all hung out, and Tom Waits lived at the Tropicana then, and that guy Chucky Weiss,
Sure.
who Ricky Lee Jones wrote Chucky Love
Yeah,
song,
yeah, I love
right?
it. Great
They
song.
all lived, everybody
Yeah.
lived at this Tropicana. And my friend Joseph Flory, who managed Sparks,
Right.
he lived at the Tropicana, and it was great, the Tropicana. Like all these people would visit, and that's where I met Joey, at the Tropicana, and that's where it became different.
No, was it that you two were both from New York and you were both out here and,
Yep.
didn't know that many people? I guess you knew a lot of people, but was that the thing that brought you together?
Still different, because Joey later on told Rolling Stone magazine that he fell in love with me in the parking lot of the Tropicana Hotel.
Right.
And that's true.
Do you
Right. Like-
remember that moment?
Yes.
What was it? What happened?
When you just know everything clicks, Joey's like, what are you doing now? And it was Thanksgiving. And I go, well, I'm going to go back to my room and get ready, and I'm going to go over Lee's house for Thanksgiving. She was the lady who ran the Tropicana. He
Right.
goes, that's where we're going. And that was it. And I was friendly with Rodney Bigumheimer, so was Joey.
Right.
And we couldn't wait to see each other that night. And then from then on, that was it. We were in love.
And then at some point you're not in love and you go to Johnny.
Of course. I mean, you go away with a band, crazy things happen.
Right.
What happened with Joey? We were in love. And I was truly actually one of his first girlfriends that when we did get off the road, we went and found an apartment together because Joey always lived with Arturo Vega at the
Right,
loft
right.
where everything would happen. So when I first moved in with Joey in New York, I lived at the loft with Arturo too. But me and Arturo, it was time for Joey to move on. He lived with Arturo. Me and Joey were in this, relationship. We were going to get engaged. And we went and tried to find an apartment. Of course, no one would give us an apartment in New York City. His mother lived in this building on 80. We were 9th Street. Johnny was 10th Street, which that comes into play later on, of course, that we live around the corner from each other. But Joey's mother gets us an apartment, and we move into the apartment together. So, going back to L.A., though, once I meet Joey that night after Thanksgiving, I stay in his room. Now, I'm still technically
With
living
Justin.
with Justin.
Yeah. I was going to worry about Justin.
So at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, the phone rings, and Joey goes, "It's for you, it's Justin." And I'm like, "Justin? What? That's so bizarre. How does he know?" And I go, "Hi." And he goes, "What are you doing there? When you going back to the room?" And I was like, "No, I'm staying," because I never felt we were girlfriend and boyfriend.
Right.
We were best friends,
Right.
And then we got this apartment on Larrabee that we was moving in, me and Justin.
Right.
But Justin never made it that we were girlfriend and boyfriend. He was already going home. He was already saying when he came back to L.A., he was going to have one of his bandmates move into the apartment then because he had to keep the band together. I was, in my mind, free.
Right.
Right.
That was it. So I go, I don't think I'm going back to the room. And I go, how did you know I was in this room? Lee, the lady at the desk, said, I know where Linda is. She's in Joey's room.
Right.
And then that was it. And at that point, the Ramones were doing Rock and Roll High School.
Right.
And then from that moment on, Joey's first song he wrote about me was Danny Says,
Right.
hanging out in 100B,
Right.
thinking of you and me. So
Right.
100B was that room.
Wow. Wait, do you ever talk to Justin again, or was that it? Was that the end? of
It
that?
gets pretty, he has
Right.
to give me back my stuff,
Yeah.
the usual. He leaves that at Joseph Flory's house. I
Yeah.
go pick up my stuff. I had nothing.
Yeah.
I had like 5 bags of clothes. I didn't own anything,
You have such a sense of style. Like,
Yeah.
do you, what makes great style? What is it that you see around you? Did you see people during that time that influenced you? Like, where does your style come from?
I always liked the 60s, and I always liked what was going on at the time. So I always mixed everything. So I always liked boots. I always liked dresses. I never really was big on pants, I always mixed everything. So back then, though, you could go, they say vintage. Back then, it was thrift stores. I don't care what anybody says.
It's still
it was
a thrift store. I'm with you on that.
Exactly. There is some high-end vintage. I'm not saying there isn't. But the thrift store had everything. So you could dress from 60s to 70s and get clothes that weren't that expensive.
Right.
There were some cool shops, though, in Beverly Hills, though, back then, that you'd hear Cher would go to, and stuff like that, and that was pretty cool, but nobody could afford that. Don't forget, I think I was getting $100 a week.
Still
Right.
with the alimony? Are we still getting the alimony?
I'm still getting alimony. I think I get alimony
So you're 21.
till I'm 21, so I have this kind of money,
Right.
Not a lot, but enough, enough that I don't have to work, That was the other thing, working. I never could figure out what I was going to do with that one.
Right, yeah.
Because now, they go, what college are you? When my mother, now my father's gone, and when I'm living in Queens, with my mother now and brother, and, it's time where everybody goes, you got to apply for college. I'm like, I got out of high school. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm out of high school now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, college. And I was reading this magazine at the time called Star Magazine.
Oh, yeah.
And all
I know
these
it.
girls were in this magazine. And, and I look at my mother like, I go, college? You send my check to the Tropicana Motel. Yeah, that's where I'm going.
Yeah.
I'm not going to college. First of all, who was going to pay for college? My father was clearly gone.
Yeah.
I had no intentions. Now you need to go to college. I don't want to say kids shouldn't go to college.
Yeah.
Me personally, I never thought about it for 1 minute.
Yeah.
I thought about going to the Tropicana. Justin was living in LA and I was going to LA. And that was the end of the story. College was never in my horizon.
Well, it hasn't been a problem for you,
Yeah.
clearly.
Yeah.
Clearly not, since
Right.
I am a president of Ramone's production and the president of the Johnny Ramone Army.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I clearly know how to make things happen.
Yeah.
You certainly do. And for those people who are going to be listening, please watch to see how gorgeous Linda is, and what she is wearing today. And this podcast is absolutely spectacular.
Now I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm all,
Right? I mean, the color.
I'm feeling very pink.
She's
Yeah.
in
To
pink
the
with the
tribute,
gold
I had
boots.
my
with-
friend Henry Duarte.
Yeah.
You know Henry.
Yeah.
Yep.
Henry airbrushed that whole outfit
Yeah.
from head to
Nice.
toe.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite spectacular today.
I felt like a
always.
psychedelic rainbow.
Yeah.
Mandy Stein said I look like her daughter, India. I was like, yeah, we're both rainbow bright.
Yeah.
But we have so much more to cover. I feel like we only got to one Ramone. We didn't get
Yeah.
to the second Ramone. But
He's the second chapter.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a
The
sec-
first Ramone is the first, and because then I go traveling with the Ramones,
Sure.
and
I
that's
know.
all
That's a
exciting.
different-
And then I do, with Joey, end of the century.
Sure.
yeah.
And, it's an amazing time for the Ramones, too.
Yeah.
You have Rock and Roll High School going on, with PJ Souls. The crazy thing is PJ Souls was friendly with Johnny. And at that time, she was married to Dennis Quaid.
Yeah.
And we went over her house for like a barbecue, the Ramones, like Vera and everybody, Dee Dee, and we all went. And we all were wearing Betsy Johnson at that time. I was wearing Betsy Johnson and Anna Sui.
Yeah.
You know, PJ, that's what she wore in the movie.
Yeah.
When we went to see PJ at the house, she had on like, she was not conservative, but yes, more conservative. She had on this like prairie, beautiful dress, but like very prairie looking. And, you know, and what she wore in the movie was our everyday outfits, which was like kind of funny.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm still friendly with PJ to this day. I still talk to PJ. She still comes to the tribute. Roger Corman came one year, and Alan always comes, and Joe Dante came, and, you know, Mary Warnoff. Like, they all come. Like, that's the thing with the tribute. Everybody reconnects.
Yeah.
What do you listen to now? What kind of music do you listen to?
Glitter rock,
Yeah.
punk rock, the British Invasion, and crooners and girl groups.
What girl groups?
I listen to the Ronettes, the Shangri-Las, you know, the Beehives. There's like obscure like girl group now records. We listen to everything on vinyl though.
Okay.
Like the whole house is vinyl.
Right.
And if it's not on vinyl, we'll listen to Spotify because they actually will take what you listen to and put their own things
Absolutely.
together.
They curate it
You
based
know?
on what you like.
Which is amazing.
Is there any young girl group right now that is out that you...
Well, I like the Pink Slips. I think
Yeah.
Grace does a great job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love Sawcrawler. Arrow was amazing the other night at the tribute, I think. I mean, I
Yeah.
think they did a really good job. And it's Fred Armisen said it was really refreshing to like see like a new girl who's cool looking. Arrow's like, I mean, when she bent down to say hello to me, I felt like it was Joey Ramone. She's that tall.
Yeah.
It's either I'm that short or she's that tall, somewhere in between, you know. But I always like tall. I always date tall men. Always, you know. So
Do you ever listen to Billie Eilish? I happen to be a fan, so do you know who she is, Billie Eilish?
no, I haven't figured out, but I do know people like her.
Yeah.
You
Okay,
know.
I'm curious to see what you think when you listen,
You
if
know,
you ever do.
I kind of stay more towards rock.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
don't-
no, she's
you-
more indie, but she's kind of
right.
crossed over.
I
to-
don't know if I do indie that much.
Yeah,
you
but
know?
she's really crossed over into some crazy. May, do you like Billie Eilish?
She's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's,
How would you describe her?
I don't know, her music's like,
See,
it's very weird.
I go
Yeah.
more for voice. Like my favorite girl singers are like Chrissy Hine, Ronnie
Yeah.
Spector. I love Doris Day. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, there's like I love a bunch of. I love Leslie Gore. Every time I listen
Oh,
to
yeah.
Leslie Gore, you know, I go okay. So I like a voice.
Yes.
I feel what happened now. I can't tell anybody's voices.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Yeah, well,
kind
there's
of
a
weird.
lot of
Like
stuff.
where is?
Yeah, that's
May,
true.
do you have a question? No?
But where are like the voices now? Like I know
Yeah.
there's like very, very popular girl singers,
Yeah.
but they all sing a certain way, and it's not the kind of way that I remember that I like.
Do you ever watch Miley Cyrus?
Actually, she's friendly with me, Miley. She writes to me.
Yeah.
So I think she's very cool.
She is very cool.
And she can belt out a number.
Yeah, she
You
can.
know? So that's very interesting.
Yeah.
I just can't hear, though, like, you know, distinct voices as much. But maybe because I don't listen to it as much, and maybe distinct is, people always say you like the music you grew up with. So maybe that's just it. Maybe that's,
Yeah.
I grew up with Diana Ross. I don't really hear the Supremes. I mean,
Yeah,
I like hearing girl groups that sound like girl groups, you know? But that's just me.
Yeah.
You know, that's why music is for everyone. That's why, you know, you go from folk rock, from Bob Dylan to, you know, whoever he inspired.
Sure.
To,
Yeah.
you know, to the next generation.
Linda, thank you so much for coming in to do
Thank
this.
you.
Appreciate it.
We
I
have to
guess
come
I could
back
shoot
the-
the breeze all day,
Yeah.
can't I?
You could, yeah.
You know? I just love talking about things I like.
Yeah.
You
And we
know?
love
Yeah,
having
we
I
you.
love
mean,
having
We
you,
love
yeah.
having
It's fun. I'll come back to do part 2.
you.
Okay,
yes,
good.
We
thank
might
you.
need a part 3.
Yeah,
We may. Oh,
exactly.
yeah,
Okay.
there's a lot. We got to
You know?
Thank you. We haven't even
Thank
scratched
you.
the surface, so.
Yeah.
Hey, it's a lot of info.
Yeah, it
If
is.
we were to make a movie of everybody I said,
Yeah.
it'd be the most interesting movie anywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Do it.
All those people.
Yeah.
Everybody was a character
Yeah.
back then. Like
Yeah.
everybody. Even Ollie Ronson. Who
You know,
wasn't
we should-
Italian?
Is Ali Ronson
You
still
know, we
around?
should.
Yeah,
we should do a show of it, Linda. Oh wait, we are.
Oh, we are.
Yeah.
yeah. That's for another story.
Thanks for watching and listening. Don't forget to subscribe.
And click like.
Yeah, that's very important. We gotta like this
Just
too.
click like, please. Thanks.
I know a lot of you who are listening to this too, and I will be sending emails if you don't hit the like button, and I'm not kidding.
And we know who you are.
Yeah,
We know who you are.
yeah. Some of you so-called friends, you better click the like button because I can go through and see who you are. Okay, so there's a two-way street. You know, don't take that for granted. You know, we know what's going on. And I
We
can't
see
pull
you.
one.
We
can't
see
pull
you.
anything over
We
on us.
see
know.
you. We see you.
Dom, this means you. You know,
Yeah.
Rick, this means you.
Tamara, this
lot
is
of
you.
Yeah, a
Come
lot
on.
of you need to support
There's a lot of people
us.
upstairs.
Okay.
Need to be clicking like.
Okay, let's keep going.